Bees are really annoying. I know many of you would agree with me on this. In fact, when we see bees in our yard, our first response would always be swatting them or spraying them with pesticides. According to globalhealth.org, last accessed July 22nd, 2022, over the past decade alone, beekeepers in the United States and in Europe have reported annual bee colony losses of around 30 to 50%. Have you ever thought of the consequences that could happen when bees come to extinction? Without bees, we won't have our favorite fruits and vegetables. This picture shows us the comparison of what the produce section in grocery stores would look like with and without bees. And the worst case scenario could also be the extinction of all living things, including humans, animals, and plants. Saving the bees is very crucial for us in our environment because the world is facing a huge decline with its bee colonies, which results to a downturn in the production of food crops and to the destruction of our ecosystem. And this is mainly caused by the lack of knowledge of people regarding the significance of bees and the increasing industrial farms that harm the lives of bees. And the simplest solution we could do is to stop swatting bees and stop spraying pesticides. But first, let's talk about the problem that the world is facing with a huge decline of bees. Bee colonies are decreasing worldwide, and it causes a huge problem to the production of food crops and to our ecosystem. The huge decrease of pollinators, especially bees, being considered as the best pollinators, affect our food and agricultural system. According to FAO.org, last accessed July 22nd, 2022, bees and other pollinators affect 35% of the global agricultural land, supporting 87% of the leading food crops worldwide. Pollinators are vital for sustaining our food systems, since the fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and oil that we consume highly rely on pollinators to be fertilized. Loss of bee colonies can also negatively impact our ecosystem. Plants highly rely on pollinators to reproduce. Without bees, certain plant species would be endangered, affecting the survival of humans and the entire wildlife. According to planetbee.org, last accessed July 22nd, 2022, the vast majority of plant species, almost 90%, rely on pollinators to reproduce. Now that I've talked about the problem that the world is facing with the huge decline of bees, let's talk about the causes. People nowadays have no idea about the significance of bees in our lives and our environment. I know that if you're scared of bees, killing them would be so satisfying, right? I grew up fearing bees. I used to think all they do is sting you or give you honey. I used to be ignorant with their significance, and whenever I see insects in my yard, I would just swat them. The ignorance of people is a huge factor with the declining bee colonies in the world. On the other hand, a cause for this problem could also be the increasing industrial farms. As the agricultural industry widens, the use of pesticide, specifically neonicotinoids, negatively impact the health of bees. Pesticides sprayed on crops cause bees to weaken, alter their behavior, and negatively affect their ability to pollinate. Now that I've discussed the causes that lead to the loss of bee colonies, let's talk about the solution. Even a small act could make a big difference in the environment. We could help save bees just by discontinuing the use of pesticides and simply letting them be whenever we see them in our yard. According to the surveys by the US Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, more than 3/4 of US households use pesticides, with 66% treating major living areas in home one or more times per year. Stopping the use of pesticides could be a huge help to sustain the bee colonies within the environment. Although bees may seem scary because they might sting you, it would help our environment if we just simply walk away from them whenever we see them in our yard. The solution for the problem that the bee colonies are facing is very simple, and if we start acting now, it would not get any worse. So today, I've talked about the importance of saving bees for us and our environment because the world faces a huge problem with the decline of bee colonies, which results to a downturn in the production of food crops and a distraction to our ecosystem. And this is mainly caused by the lack of knowledge of people regarding the importance of bees and the increasing industrial farms that harm the lives of bees. And the simplest solution we could do is stop swatting them and stop spraying pesticides. So before you kill that bee in your yard, have you thought of the consequences that could happen when bees come to extinction?